Hi there, and welcome once again to Trainer Road's Workout of the Week. I'm Coach Chad Timmerman, Coach T for short, and this week we're going to be delving into some short, sweet, and highly intense efforts via a workout by the name of Kettle. And while Kettle's 90 minutes long, this workout allows riders to determine just how much work they want to do, and it can be scaled to something as short as roughly 30 minutes, but for those brave few who want to endure the entire 90 minutes, that option is certainly encouraged. Kettle consists of 4 sets of very brief intervals, and each of the intervals within the set is separated by recovery periods that last 3 times as long as the work period that precedes it. So if the work effort's 15 seconds, the recovery's 45. If the work effort's a minute, the recovery's 3 minutes. And then in between each of the sets, the recoveries are the better part of 4 minutes long. The workout kicks off with a 3-minute clearing effort at 90% of your functional threshold power. And as per usual, within the confines of 90 minutes, the warm-up doesn't get as much time allotted to it as I would like. So I highly encourage riders to get on the bike 10, 15, even 20 minutes prior to kicking off the workout, which makes this workout in total closer to 2 hours. But once again, the workout itself can be scaled down to an overall duration much shorter than that, something I'll get to in a little bit. Following that 3-minute clearing effort, there's 4 short, high-intensity, 15-second efforts, each separated by 30 seconds. And these will allow riders to do a couple things. One is to get everything awake and firing. 2, it allows a preview of the most intense efforts within each of the upcoming sets. And 3, it'll allow you to see if your tire is going to adhere to whatever trainer's roller you might be using. Past that warm-up, we dive right into the set, which kicks off with a very high-power 15-second effort all the way up at 160% of your functional threshold. And as I mentioned earlier, the recovery to work is a 3-to-1 ratio. So following this 15-second effort, you'll recover for 45 seconds, dip down to a 30-second effort at 153% of functional threshold, recover for 90 seconds, then you'll endure a 45-second effort at 147% of threshold. Follow that up with a little over 2 minutes worth of recovery before you hit the longest interval of the day, which is a full minute at 140% of your functional threshold. Then we'll just reverse that pattern following a 3-minute recovery and step back out before you get to the longer recovery, during which time you can decide if you've got another set in your legs. Some tips for an anaerobic capacity workout like Kettle are first and foremost to generate a lot of leg speed. Whether you spin comfortably quickly or you're more of a masher doesn't necessarily factor into a workout like this, because leg speed is increasingly necessary when the watts start to delve into that anaerobic capacity territory where we're riding well above our VO2 max power, well above 120%. In this case, the lowest is 140%, and not too many riders can generate enough force to turn the pedals smoothly and maintain steady power unless they're spinning quickly. While there are riders who probably can generate that sort of force output, who can actually push the pedals smoothly while doing it that hard and maintaining a cadence that's, let's say, under 80 RPM, it's not realistic to practice something you're not going to apply. And not too many riders, if any riders, are going to apply that sort of approach to an effort that pushes them that hard. So get in the habit of spinning quickly. And in this case, it's an ideal opportunity to work on short bursts of leg speed. These efforts at the longest are only 60 seconds, and the short ones are basically sprints, seated sprints, but sprints nonetheless. And again, the more slowly you spin, the more muscular you make the pedal stroke, the more you tax your muscles, and the more you deplete their energy stores. The quicker you keep that spin, the more aerobic it becomes, and the better you get at fueling short efforts with oxygen rather than sugar. One more tip is to creep forward on the saddle. Riding that uncomfortable but more powerful position for brief periods of time is not a bad habit to get into, as opposed to being forced out of the saddle to try to hang on to your leg speed. Very few riders can maintain their form and smooth power output when they jump from a seated position to a standing position, unless of course they're sprinting, and these aren't exactly sprints. In terms of scaling this workout, you can always reduce the workout intensity, and since there are 4 sets, and within each of those sets you repeat all but that 1-minute effort, which means you're going to have a lot of opportunity to see what you can stay on top of and what you can't. So you can scale the workout intensity down as much as 10% per set. You may find that within the set there are only certain efforts, maybe the very tall ones, maybe even the minute-long one, that needs to be scaled down a few percentage points, after which you dial it back up because you know you can perform the rest of the intervals as prescribed. What's more, if you're going to perform more than one set, then each subsequent set is an opportunity for you to figure out where you need to scale this workout, such that you can get the most out of each of these 4-minute sets. And when it comes down to it, that's all they are. 4 minutes worth of work before you get the opportunity to do it all again. And then finally, as I've mentioned a couple times already, you can scale this workout by the number of sets you do. 1 set, 2 sets, 3 sets, or the whole deal, 4 sets. A lot of work inside of a 90-minute time frame, but something that is actually doable for many riders, especially if this time of year has you approaching or in the midst of a peak phase of training. With regards to the goals of a workout like Kettle and most anaerobic capacity workouts, the idea is to achieve a lot of training stress in a minimal amount of time. And a lot of riders look at a workout like this and think, these aren't the sort of efforts I need to emulate on the road, so why should I bother with efforts like this? Which is actually a valid argument for those riders who have ample amounts of time to train. But for those riders who don't, and for those riders who actually do need to be able to administer efforts like this during an event, this is an extremely effective way to train. And there's plenty of science these days that has shown us we can achieve aerobic benefits doing anaerobic work. So especially for those riders who are on a time-constrained training budget, I highly encourage them to plunk a workout like Kettle into their training plan on a pretty routine basis, maybe once a week for 6, even 8 weeks, and see what sort of return they get, both in terms of their anaerobic power and their aerobic power, their longer-term muscle endurance. Furthermore, efforts like this have a tremendous physiological effect on all of the systems that fall below our anaerobic capacity or glycolytic systems. So while anaerobic capacity efforts might not have a large impact on everything that effectively falls below it, it has some impact on nearly everything. And then when you heap repetition on top of it, and in the case of Kettle, there's an opportunity for a whole lot of repetition, that training stress and the benefit that comes with it following adequate recovery can be enormous, especially relative to the amount of time you spend doing this type of work. And I'll wrap this up with a brief review of Kettle's nuts and bolts. First off, it's a 90-minute workout with a training stress score of 114, which is a lot of stress to accumulate inside of 90 minutes. Intensity factor is 0.87, and given that it's stretched out over a 90-minute workout, this qualifies as a high-intensity workout. In particular, it's highly taxing on the muscles themselves, so it's absolutely advised to follow up a workout like this with some active recovery or even a little bit of time off the bike. But performing a workout like this a couple days in a row can take a longer than usual amount of time from which to recover. That should do it for Kettle. Good luck with this one, enjoy it, and as always, thanks for using Trainer Road.